last Sunday, had myself a little time in the middle of the afternoon, so I spent time looking through the Sunday newspaper. Now, I know not everybody sees the Sunday newspaper anymore, and that's kind of a dying art. But all the same, I was looking through there, and hey, I found this little glossy magazine in the middle of the paper, this Parade magazine. Remember those? Yeah, I saw those when I was a boy. I haven't seen this in a long time. And wouldn't you know, there's Paul McCartney on the cover. That must be his confirmation picture. It's so old, you know? I mean, he has dark hair. I mean, not that I'm any way to talk, but I mean, yeah, it's just curious. And what's the article? Paul McCartney, 16 things you didn't know. Like I care to know. But all the same, you know, it's funny because, by the way, I haven't seen this in a long time. You know, their demographics have changed. In the corner, there's a little ad that says, Medicare coverage, trusted by more doctors, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Yeah, sure. You know, I mean, if this were Lady Gaga on the cover, you know, or let's say, or 50 Cent or somebody like that, you know, I don't think they'd be sponsored by Medicaid, you know. What can I say? Well, all the same, you know, I must admit, growing up, I didn't know much about Paul McCartney and the Beatles. Household I grew up with, my folks took care of the radio dial. My mom and dad, WROW and WGY. You remember those? Oh yeah, especially for school closing time. I remember those. Pine, Plains Central, Onteora Central, all those places. That's how I got to know the area, by listening to the school closings. Well, when I went to the 9th grade, I was in with a bunch of other kids, and they were all talking about the Beatles and things like that. I had no clue. So I kind of started picking up as to what was going on with that. And I started hearing, you know, the Beatles were famous. They had these songs out there. You know, they had, I Want to Hold Your Hand. I Saw Her Standing There. All You Need Is Love. I thought, wow, these guys must make it pretty easy. They just keep on repeating the same thing over and over again. They make a lot of money. You know, all you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Yeah, all you need is love. I guess that must be the message. Well, the more I started hearing some of the songs, I realized I hadn't really missed that much. I'd catch up pretty quickly. It occurred to me that most of the songs on radio were songs about love. But once you start listening to the words, to the music, you know, you start having questions. I mean, how can it be that all you need is love? I mean, isn't it true that love is more than just holding hands? You know, the first reading taken from Deuteronomy and our gospel from Mark, they've got something to tell us too. You know, the words of the words of the prophets are written on the walls, and we can listen to these things. You know, Moses and Jesus tell us to love with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength. And that sounds pretty straightforward. Sounds like good news, easy to follow. I remember being a 6th grade catechist at one time, and there was this one girl in the class, and she said, oh, being a Christian is easy. All we have to do is love people. You know, try putting that into practice, though. Wow, but I loved her enthusiasm. She was great. You know, but loving people can be easier said than done. I mean, we all know some people who are disagreeable. We all know some people who are hard to love, right? Well, then I've met other people who, they would say, you know, Christianity is a struggle. It's supposed to be hard. You know, after all, Jesus, he's on a cross for a reason, isn't he? Sure. It's almost like we have this suffering Savior. Shouldn't we have to have a hard time ourselves too? So who's right? You know, is the gospel easy or is the gospel hard? Well, in every good Catholic sense, it's one of those both and kind of things. It's both. You know, the gospel, words are simple, but living it out and choosing to be a loving person as you live it out, well, that can be challenging. I mean, let's talk about different slices of life for a minute. I mean, married couples promise to live and to love loyally and exclusively, even when circumstances change. And you know, circumstances do change, don't they? I mean, life is always changing. Parents, they love their infant child, even though they have no idea what kind of person he or she is going to grow up to become. Single people, they form lifelong friendships. People they confide in and depend upon. But jobs change, people get uprooted, and sometimes even the best of friends can sometimes disappoint you. People might lose friends, or they might just drift away. And of course, Jesus talks about loving your enemies. Everybody loves to talk about loving their enemies, right? But when Jesus talks love, it's more than just holding hands. The gospel mandates us to love and go even further with our love. We're called to love God and love neighbor as we love ourselves. This is a call for us to be people of empathy. Our love of God, all of our strength, our mind, all of our being. And sometimes that's what it takes to love others with empathy. Because it takes strength. It takes love. It takes all your soul to walk with others. We don't always know how someone else feels, but we do know how we feel. Maybe everyone we meet has a burden that they carry. Maybe a member of the family's been seriously ill. Maybe a family member or a close friend has died. Folks struggle with frail health. Lots of people have been struggling with the pandemic. Maybe there are worries about our children or the relationships we live in. Maybe there's a problem at work or there's money problems at home. Or maybe a poor decision was made and you just can't get out from under it. A poor decision that seems to dog you forever. But to love with all of our strength, all of our soul, all of our being, sometimes all that strength calls us to be our best by being kind and patient. Seems everyone seems to be carrying around at least one heavy item. To walk as loving people, as Jesus is calling us, calls us to see another person's struggles as being every bit as serious, every bit as important as our own. And we look not just for the close friends, we look for people who are across town, across borders, across racial differences, across divides, across the oceans and far away. Think back to what it means to love someone else this unconditionally. Think about that one person no one wants to love. Who is that one person that you don't want to love, or I don't want to love? That one person that you struggle with, even just considering the idea of loving that person. This is the challenge we face when we encounter today's readings. Think of that one person, the one who challenges us the most. May we be challenged by the example of Jesus to see this person as our neighbor. Jesus asked that we make that person's battles, that person's struggles, our own. The gospel may sound simple when you hear it, but it's hard to live out. It's simple and it's complex. It's both and it can be hard. Like I heard someone say once, Jesus is on the cross for a reason. Maybe what we can take away is that love is all we really need to do.